With a name synonymous with the highest-grossing Hollywood hits of the millennium, an incredible range of strong and dominant heroines, and a steely involvement in all her projects.
Well, Zoe Saldana is a very, very special person who brought so much to this film.
The former dancer always knew what she wanted, both on and off the set.
The thing about Zoe is I think she's she really works on instincts.
Highly respected and praised by her peers in the industry, this action-skilled woman is one of a kind. Let's take a close-up on Zoe Saldana.
Zoe Saldana was born June 19, 1978 in Passaic, New Jersey. Her father, Aridio, was Dominican, and her mother, Acelia, was Dominican and Puerto Rican. So Zoe grew up speaking both Spanish and English at home. When Zoe was just 9 years old, tragedy struck when her father was killed in a vehicle accident. Afterwards, Zoe and her two sisters were sent to live in the Dominican Republic with her father's family, where they could go to a private school. Her mother stayed in New York so that she could raise money to send them to that school. But when Zoe was 17, her mother remarried, and the three girls were able to return to the United States. It was quite a culture shock for Zoe moving to the Dominican Republic after growing up in the States, but she did find something that helped the transition. She fell in love with dance. She started studying at a prestigious local academy there. Ballet, jazz, contemporary, all kinds of different forms. And dance is her first love as a performer. After Zoe returned to New York from the Dominican Republic, she began performing with a theater troupe called The Faces. And The Faces specialized in stories for young people that dealt with tough issues like sexuality and substance abuse, family issues. And Zoe loved it, not just for the performing, but because she felt like they were really making a difference. They were telling stories to people that really needed to hear them. As a teenager, Zoe was incredibly passionate about ballet, but as she continued to advance, she started to realize that she wouldn't be able to go as far as she would like to go because of the way her feet are built. She didn't have the feet to be a prima ballerina. And she didn't just want to be in the chorus. She wanted to really, be in the spotlight. So she transitioned to acting where her feet are not a problem at all.
It sounds fun.
Zoe's very first acting jobs on camera were 2 episodes of the TV-renowned police procedural series, Law & Order, in 1999.
If you're an actor based in New York City and you haven't done a Law & Order episode, you're doing something wrong. So Zoe was able to tick that box right away. As a teenage dancer, Zoe showed a real flair for acting and storytelling, and after one of her Faces performances, a talent agency recruited her to audition for this new dance movie that was coming out. It was called Center Stage, and they needed somebody to play a strong-willed ballet dancer named Eva Rodriguez. It was the perfect role for Zoe, and she booked it.
Me imagining the dancer world is exactly like what Center Stage is. So this is Zoe Saldana's first movie, and she is the no-nonsense badass girl. And when everyone else is like scrambling around nervous and trying to fit in, Zoe Saldana's the one talking back to the fancy teachers and telling it how it is, and is basically like looking around at all of these weird, flighty young people and is like, what are you doing? Don't you see what this is? She's just like looking around and kind of wondering why everybody's being so fancy, and is the down-to-earth one, realizing what's going on when no one else does, and she brings that to every role. I love it. One of my favorite things about Center Stage, aside from the fact that it's Zoe Saldana's like amazing attitude-filled debut, is just the tagline, which is, life doesn't hold tryouts. One of Zoe Saldana's other early roles was in a Pirates of the Caribbean movie. When those were coming out, they were like the biggest movies of the summer, and she wasn't really well known yet, but she had an incredibly memorable role. She's like the character that has the hat pulled down really low, kind of don't know what's going on. Maybe at first you think it's like an extra, and then there's this one big scene where Johnny Depp is talking to all the pirates, and all of a sudden he gets to this one pirate and you realize, surprise, it's a lady pirate, which is a thing that didn't exist. And Zoe Saldana is bringing like her usual spice to it, where she just slaps Johnny Depp in the face and she's yelling at him for taking her ship. And it starts them on this whole course of like a cool little subplot of the movie. And that was when I realized, like, oh, we're gonna be seeing a lot more of Zoe Saldana.
But she said that she did not have a good time making that movie. She said it was just too big and impersonal, which is funny to think about because she's done a lot of big movies since then.
No.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Zoe Saldana brings a lightness to movies if that's what the role calls for. And so when she was in a comedy like Guess Who, she was very funny. She was really believable as Ashton Kutcher's fiance, and you're like, Bernie Mac is not going to be happy about this, but he loves his daughter, and you love his daughter too. So the movie, like, it's not rewriting the genre, so to speak, and it certainly was kind of a weird remake of a classic Hollywood film. But you're like, yeah, these are talented people. They all mesh really well together.
Zoe is a dreamboat. I really love Zoe deeply. She is a very fiery personality, and she feels like a daughter to me. Like, I like watching her dance, and I like watching her sing.
She has a special quality. A lot of actresses tend to pose. Zoe never poses. She's spontaneous, as I said, and I just find her extremely interesting to watch all the time. She can be very funny, and she can be very fiery, and she's handled the dramatic moments and the comedic moments equally well.
And we cut. Very nice. Print that.
As a sci-fi geek, her contributions to some of the greatest films ever made in that genre were achievable through J.J. Abrams' key role in the iconic Star Trek reboot.
Although she wasn't a huge Star Trek fan before she got the movie, Zoe did know the Star Trek Vulcan salute. And the reason she knew it is because she had played a Star Trek fan in a previous movie, The Terminal, directed by Steven Spielberg, and it was actually Steven Spielberg himself who taught her how to do that. When Zoe was preparing to play Uhura in the Star Trek reboot, she got to meet the original Uhura, Nichelle Nichols, who starred in the TV series. Zoe said it was a huge thrill, not just because they were going to be playing the same role, but Zoe was a huge fan. She saw Nichelle as a real role model.
Everyone loves Star Trek so much. This is a really high-value franchise. It's very important that you cast it properly because you don't want to try and mimic what's existed before, but you need a performer that's solid, that's bringing something new to the table while still being reverent of the original. And Zoe Saldana was cast as Uhura, which is a huge role in the sci-fi universe. It could be challenging casting a person up against a character like Spock, because Spock is this like stoic, unfeeling, emotionless, but not without character. And you know, Uhura is a special lady, and so you can't just throw anybody in that role. And what's great about the Star Trek movies is that Zoe Saldana is so strong, but she's also really soft when the role calls for it. And so as long as your script is good, Zoe Saldana is really gonna deliver exactly the kind of performance that adjusts and flows around other people, which is great.
Zoe Saldana and Chris Pine would really go for it when they filmed their fight scenes in the first Star Trek movie. And they would always wear protected pads so that they could really hit each other without doing too much damage. Well, one day Chris Pine forgot the protective gear under his costume, and the scene's happening, and he didn't want to tell Zoe, he didn't want to freak her out, he didn't want to mess up the take, so she's like going for it, and he thought, oh, she's gonna break my ribs. Turns out it was just a bruise, and he healed pretty quickly, but it was kind of a close call.
Such an angel, Zoe Saldana. I mean, she's so, she's got such an openness and such a vulnerability on camera, and yet such a strength. You know, she can kick ass with the best of them, and yet she can really soften and open up in a way that is magnetizing, whether you're here or whether you're watching it on screen. It's got a real power to it.
Action.
It's good.
Here's the thing, like Neytiri's journey and my journey and my personal life have been very parallel in the fact that I knew the sensation of fearlessness and anger, you know, when you're younger. And then as a mother, I was experiencing that sensation, and it was very new, of being paralyzed by fear.
After Zoe booked Avatar, she was not messing around. She was gonna knock this role out of the park. So she spent 6 months before they even started shooting training. She learned horseback riding, she learned martial arts. She got really good at archery. In fact, she and James Cameron would always have these bets about her archery skills, and Zoe would always win because she was that good. Zoe says that playing Neytiri in the first Avatar movie is by far the biggest acting challenge she's experienced to date. Not only did she have to learn a different language, there was all the physical part to do, the motion capture, the blue screen, getting used to all of that, and it took years. Like most movies, you're in and out in like 4 months. This went on forever, and she says it was really taxing, not just physically and mentally, but also spiritually.
What's amazing about the entire cast of Avatar is that their whole role is performance capture. So they're there, they're acting, and the computer is translating what they do into an animation, but Zoe Saldana manages to make that feel completely natural. It feels relatable, even though these characters aren't human. There's something about the combination of a solid performer like Zoe Saldana and then a solid filmmaker like James Cameron. He really makes movies that people care about. The combination of these people has proven to be pretty magical.
My character's full name is Neytiri Tiskaha Mo'aite, and which means Neytiri, daughter of Moat. Moat is played by CCH Pounder, which is my mother. Neytiri is a warrior. She has big shoes to fill. She's a very rebellious girl that is kind of torn between doing what is expected of her to do and following her heart.
Zoe Saldana as Neytiri is like one of the greatest warrior mothers in films. Neytiri all of a sudden becomes like one of those pop culture figures that you're like placing in imaginary battles with other figures from pop culture history.
Stepping back into playing Neytiri is something really special to me. This character is a character that I feel kindred with in so many ways. I learned so much about her. I gave so much of myself to her, so getting to revisit her, to reincarnate her, it just feels like it's a gift that keeps on giving.
I'm shutting down the Avatar program, effective now. These gentlemen will escort you to get your personal effects.
I'm right here. If you want to shoot your bankroll, go right ahead.
There was a smaller movie that came out called The Losers. I don't feel like most people know about The Losers, but I could never forget it because there's so many cool things in The Losers. And it's about this group of CIA agents, and you think that it's gonna be just this movie about like really strong, muscular guys messing around. It turns out that all these guys are kind of disavowed at some point, and they need a strong lady to help them out. And Zoe Saldana was so amazing in this movie. There's tons of action, it's sexy, and Zoe Saldana really shows off how physical she can be, even if she's not in tons of makeup or doing performance capture. She's so solid. She's just good in everything, and she has this way about her that's like the girl that guys like to hang out with. If we're being stereotypical, she's just so chill. The reason that The Losers takes up real estate in my brain is because there is one moment I have never forgotten since the first time I saw that in the theater, where Zoe Saldana just has a rocket launcher. And it's amazing. It's like, I would like to do that. What am I feeling right now? Like so many feelings. She's great.
I had seen about 20 minutes of Avatar because Jim Cameron had shown me some of it before we actually cast her. So, I was aware of what was coming. But she's, 8 feet tall and blue in that movie. She came in and she met with us and she was just, so fresh and so exciting. I mean, she's so much energy and so beautiful and sexy and all those things that Aisha needs to be.
At home in the action genre, Zoe Saldana also takes great care in creating and composing her characters, down to their psychological underpinnings as in Colombiana.
There's many ghosts that are haunting her, but she can't stop. She's sort of like a little Terminator. And those are the things that sort of I found very intimidating when I was reading up on her and doing my research and sort of bringing her to life. Because I feel like if I were to stand next to a person, individual like that, I would be completely freaked out.
First time I've worked with Zoe, first time I met her at the gym in Chicago. She was lifting more weights than I've ever seen in my life on her day off.
Colombiana worked because it was so action-packed and the fighting is amazing and it's so badass, but at the same time, Zoe Saldana really shows you the emotional impact of what would happen if someone went through that. She really is a good actress and she takes you down that path. So she made that character seem like a real person, not just a killing machine.
We could have a real female hero with a strong background, with a strong drama around and so on. So I like this kind of character and I like the fact that it's a woman.
Zoe Saldana's career was already at its peak when she was asked to star in the drama The Words with her future Guardians of the Galaxy partner, Bradley Cooper.
This story is it's about a man trying to do something very unusual, trying to be special, and the sacrifices that he makes and how they affect him and everything in his life because of it. So many things that you can take from it. You can take it as a life-learned lesson of what happens when you don't speak the truth, what happens when you want something so bad that you're willing to do all the wrong things about, in order for you to get it.
While making the movie The Words with Bradley Cooper, Zoe and Bradley actually started dating. They became a couple for a while, but their romance didn't last too long. It eventually ended amicably, which is a good thing because they ended up co-starring together in Guardians of the Galaxy, and you wouldn't want it to be awkward on the set or at the press junket.
Accustomed to very big productions, the actress has no hesitation in taking part in smaller independent films and artistic risks, as she did with Out of the Furnace.
So Zoe Saldana's career is totally full of blockbusters and big budget movies, but she also just works with other really excellent actors like Christian Bale in Out of the Furnace. So she was a minor character in that film, but the reason that it's significant to me is because it really shows that she's not just this big kind of wide brush strokes kind of actors. She really can do smaller character stuff and hold her own with like really exceptional actors. She is solid.
Except for a few appearances on Law & Order and 6 Degrees, Zoe Saldana had never had much experience on the small screen until she decided to produce and star in Rosemary's Baby, a miniseries adaptation of Ira Levin's iconic novel for NBC under the direction of renowned director.
Zoe Saldana has actually taken on Hollywood legends. When she's made things, like she has no fear, she has a lot of confidence that comes from being consistently cast in really big budget, huge movies. But there aren't a lot of people that would be willing to tackle Rosemary's Baby. And Zoe Saldana, along with her family, actually produced a TV series that was expanding on the really disturbing, creepy themes of the movie. And there were some great nods to Mia Farrow's performance and her wardrobe and her hair and makeup. But at the same time, Zoe Saldana was helping take it in a slightly different direction, and this was like her first TV thing that I ever remember seeing her in, so she's all over the place.
But the call of the big screen would not be long in coming. When James Gunn and Marvel offered her the fantastic role of Gamora in Guardians of the Galaxy, she didn't hesitate.
Yet another franchise that Zoe Saldana is a part of is Guardians of the Galaxy. And she plays Gamora, who is an incredibly powerful but also very troubled character. And when she falls in with Peter Quill and the rest of like his unlikely band of heroes, Gamora is great because she thinks they're all crazy. She thinks they're mostly dumb and that she's way smarter than they are. And it's hard to make a character like that lovable. You really need to get the audience on your side. You have to be funny, and you also have to be really badass when it counts. And what's great about that first Guardians movie especially is that you totally buy all the physical action stuff that Zoe Saldana is so good at, but you also really buy the fact that her character is softening towards someone like Peter Quill. You know, you really believe that she's developing genuine affection for him and that she's letting her guard down a little bit. And the arc of that character is so fun to watch and is so heartbreaking to watch because she's been through so much with the Guardians. She's been through so much with the Avengers. We have sobbed over the things that have happened to her in the ensemble Avengers movies. But at the same time, like, she gets brought back and you're relieved because you don't want to watch superhero movies from Marvel without Gamora in them, because she's a little bit of everything. She does all of that stuff really, really well, and she brings sort of a different voice to these movies that are known for being the wackier Marvel movies.
She's the kind of character that the first act of the movie, you kind of have reservations about what she will mean to you for the rest of the story, you know? Because she's relentless, she's lethal, she's working for the dark side, you know? And she's not really allowing her cards to be read that freely with the people that she's working with. And then it's not until like the end of Act 2 that you kind of go, oh my God, this girl really just wants to make good, and she has a conscience that she can't really run away from it.
Zoe Saldana is blue in the Avatar movies and green in the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. And not only are the colors different, but the process and the making of the movies was very different, and it was important for Zoe that be the case. For Avatar, she did a lot of performance capture, where everything was added afterwards. For Gamora, she really wanted it to feel live and real in the moment. She wanted it to feel different than Avatar. So she was painted green every day, practically. And it meant hours in the makeup chair, but it made a huge difference in the way she felt about the character and also the finished product. It just felt different, and it was important for her that it be a different kind of character and a different kind of process.
She came totally prepared and ready to rock and roll every day, and she did a great job. And you know, she brings a certain sleek, sexy sassiness to this character that really no one else could. And so it's hard to imagine anyone else ever playing that role.
There's a fierceness to Zoe and a fierceness at the core of Gamora that I think are very similar, and that Zoe understands, I think, in a really honest way.
And that is a picture wrap on someone I love with all my heart, Zoe Saldana.
Zoe Saldana is an accomplished artist who also knows how to break the mold and take on new challenges. In the Book of Life, she agrees to voice a character in an animated film for the first time. She plays Maria, whose temperament is not unlike that of her interpreter.
The character that I play in Book of Life is Maria, this beautiful, spunky girl. She has a true sense of herself, of who she is and what she wants. That just naturally comes out, which is what I love the most about her.
So never try to pin down what Zoe Saldana is going to do next, because she leaps from franchise to franchise. She does smaller movies. It's always action-based, but she also does animated stuff as a voiceover artist. And she played Maria in the Book of Life, which was this great, different kind of telling of the story of, you know, Dia de los Muertos. There are these two characters everybody's in love with. It's a love triangle. It's a fun movie that really brings in culture that we're not used to seeing in animated films.
But talent and success don't protect her from controversy and difficulty, as she will experience with Nina, the biopic of Nina Simone, directed by Cynthia Mort.
As great as Zoe Saldana is, she's not free from criticism in some of her choices, because when she was offered the chance to play the iconic singer Nina Simone, she definitely leapt at it. Everybody knew she could handle it acting-wise, but she looked so different than Nina Simone that there was sort of an uproar, and people, I think, were forgetting that she's such a talented performer, and they were focusing on the fact that that wasn't how Nina Simone looked. They would have to darken her skin in order for her to play her accurately as far as pictures go. And so that was kind of a bump in the road. Nina Simone's family wasn't happy about the casting, but later publicly said, none of this has to do with Zoe Saldana as an actress. We don't have any beef with her. We just wish that, you know, our family member would have been portrayed differently. So when you see Nina, it's challenging to focus on how good her performance is, but she really was excellent.
In March of 2013, Zoe began dating an Italian artist named Marco Pareto. They fell in love quick and got married 3 months later in a secret ceremony in London. After they got married, Marco ended up taking her name as part of his name. So he's now Marco Pareto Saldana. I love that twist. And they have 3 sons together, Sai, Bowie, and Zen. When she's not working or saving the universe, Zoe tries to give back to things she believes in. In 2017, she started an organization called BESE. It's a digital media platform, and it's designed to combat the lack of diversity in media. with an emphasis on Latino stories, positive stories and characters. She wants to make the kind of stories that she wished she could have seen more of when she was growing up.
She's very versatile and she's very low-key, and she's the same in person. She doesn't ever give off that star vibe, like, oh, I'm so important, I've been in so many movies, and my movies have grossed $14 billion. She never comes off that way. She's like, yeah, I have a family, I have a really cool job, I'm a business person.
Zoe Saldana has the rare distinction of being in the 3 highest grossing movies of all time. No one else can say that. She's in Avatar, she's in Avengers Endgame, she's in Avatar The Way of Water. She is literally box office gold. Zoe Saldana has not yet been nominated for an Academy Award. She doesn't really make those kind of movies yet. But on May 3rd, 2018, she got one of the biggest honors a star can get when she got given her own star on the legendary Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Over the course of 2 decades, Zoe Saldana has found her place at the top of the Billboard and box office charts. Her name is inextricably linked to some of the biggest Hollywood hits, and her ability to move between action and more introspective roles in independent films speaks volumes about the talent and passion of an actress whose motto could be, "The sky is the limit."
I am a kid at heart, so getting to live, every day fictional characters that inspired me, and knowing, the importance of the positive messages to a younger audience just makes me feel lucky to go to work.
Where were we now?